In the village of Umuokoro, nothing stayed hidden for long. If a chicken laid an egg in the morning, by afternoon the whole village knew whether it was large or small. People did not mean harm all the time. It was simply how life worked there. Everyone watched everyone. Umuokoro sat between red earth roads and wide cassava farms. In the evenings, smoke from cooking fires rose gently above the compounds, and elders gathered under the udala tree to speak about matters that concerned the village. Children played barefoot until their mothers called them home. It was an ordinary place, the kind where joy and jealousy lived side by side without apology. In that village lived a widow named Mama Ifunanya and her two daughters, Adaeze and Obiageli. Adaeze was the firstborn, calm, observant, the kind of girl who did not speak unless she had weighed her words. She carried herself with quiet dignity, even as a teenager. Obiageli, the younger one, was lively and quick to laughter. She liked attention the way flowers like sunlight. After their father died, Mama Ifunanya raised them with careful hands. She farmed, traded palm oil in the market, and made sure her daughters lacked nothing essential. People respected her because she did not beg and she did not complain loudly about her suffering. The sisters grew close, especially after their father's death. They fetched water together from the stream. They shared one wooden box for their clothes. On cold harmattan nights, they slept on the same mat and whispered about their futures. But even in closeness, difference can grow quietly. Adaeze learned tailoring from an old woman who lived near the boundary fence. She stitched blouses neatly and repaired torn wrappers without leaving visible marks. Obiageli preferred to help in the market. She enjoyed greeting customers, laughing easily, and hearing news before it became old. People began to compare them early. She is beautiful like her mother, women would say about Obiageli. And the elder one, someone would ask. She is responsible, they would answer, the way people speak when they do not know what else to praise. Those words did not wound Adaeze openly, but words, even small ones, settle somewhere inside. When Adaeze turned 23, a family from a neighboring village came to make inquiries. The man's name was Chukudi. He was not the most handsome man in Umuokoro, but he was steady. He had inherited two cocoa farms from his father and had recently built a small zinc-roofed house of his own. In a village where many young men still depended on their father's compounds, that alone carried weight. The first day his mother came to Mama Ifunaya's compound, she did not speak directly about marriage. That is not how things were done. She came with kola nuts and greetings. She praised Mama Ifunaya's strength as a widow. She complimented Adaeze's sewing. Only after two visits did she say what everyone already suspected. Her son had interest. When the formal bride price list was discussed, something unexpected happened. Chukwudi's family did not bargain. In Umuokoro, bargaining was part of tradition. It was almost playful. The bride's family would ask high. The groom's family would protest dramatically. Elders would laugh and mediate until both sides agreed. But Chukwudi's father surprised everyone. He paid the full amount listed. Every tuber of yam, every keg of palm wine, every wrapper cloth requested for the mother. The goats were healthy, the drinks were abundant. Even the small transport money for extended relatives was added without complaint. People began whispering before the ceremony even ended. It is too much. They are showing off. Maybe the girl used something. In villages, generosity is rarely accepted without suspicion. Mama Ifunanya tried to ignore the murmurs. She was simply grateful that her daughter would not struggle in a marriage. But Obiageli heard everything. At first, she was proud. She walked around smiling as people congratulated her sister. She helped arrange Adaeze's clothes for her new home. She teased her gently about becoming a wife. But slowly, the tone of the village changed. Women who once said Adaeze was only responsible began to say, "Ah, that girl must have hidden favor. See how they valued her." Some even said openly, "If this is what the elder brought, the younger one will bring even more. She is prettier." That was when comparison stopped being harmless. The marriage ceremony was beautiful. Drums echoed through the compound. Adaeze wore coral beads borrowed from a relative. She knelt respectfully as tradition demanded. Chukwudi placed the wine in her hands and she searched for him among the crowd, just as custom required. When she found him and he drank, the women ululated loudly. It was done, but that night, when the guests left and the compound grew quiet, Obiageli lay awake staring at the ceiling. She had overheard two women talking near the kitchen fire. If this plain one brought such a bride price, imagine what the fine one will bring. Plain one. It was said casually, but Obiageli heard it clearly. From that day, something shifted. Suitors began to come for Obiageli almost immediately. That is how villages are. Once one daughter marries well, attention increases for the other. Among those who showed interest was a young trader named Emeka. He sold spare parts in the town market and dressed sharply whenever he visited Umuokoro. He spoke confidently and carried himself like someone who had seen the city. Obiageli liked him instantly. He praised her beauty openly. He brought small gifts, hair clips, sandals, once even a small bottle of perfume that smelled unlike anything sold in the village stores. Mama Ifunanya watched carefully. She did not fully trust men who spoke too sweetly. When Emeka's family finally came for introductions, the bride price list was presented, similar to what Adeze's had been. This time, bargaining happened. Long bargaining. Emeka's uncle complained that the list was excessive. He said times were hard. He said they were not cocoa farmers like Chukwudi's family. Voices rose slightly before elders calmed them. In the end, the amount agreed upon was respectable, but noticeably lower than Adeze's. That should not have mattered. Bride price is symbolic, not a competition. But human beings rarely treat symbols lightly. The difference became gossip before the day ended. Some said Mama Ifunanya deliberately reduced the price because she feared people would talk. Others said Emeka's family was stingy. A few whispered, maybe the elder one had something special after all. Obiageli pretended not to hear, but her laughter became sharper, her smiles less easy. After marriage, Ades moved to her husband's compound at the far end of Umuokoro. Life there was not luxurious, but it was stable. Chukwudi treated her with quiet respect. He did not shout unnecessarily. He consulted her on farm matters. He even allowed her to continue sewing for income. Within a year, she became pregnant. Meanwhile, Obiageli's marriage began with excitement but quickly revealed cracks. Emeka traveled often to the city. Money did not flow as smoothly as his clothes suggested. Sometimes weeks passed before he sent support. When Obiageli complained, he reminded her sharply that she married a trader, not a farmer tied to one village. Arguments became frequent. Whenever she visited her mother, she compared silently. Adaeze's wrapper always looked newer, her cheeks fuller, her compound quieter. One afternoon, during a naming ceremony in the village, I saw what many others also noticed. Adais arrived with her husband, carrying a baby boy. People greeted them warmly. Chukwudi handed out drinks generously. Obiageli arrived later, alone. 3. She was well dressed, yes, but she looked thinner. When someone asked after her husband, she smiled tightly and said he was busy with business. It was in that gathering that a careless comment escaped someone's mouth. You see, bride price does not lie. The words were not shouted, but they traveled. Obiageli heard them. I know she did, because her hand froze midway to adjusting her head tie. That day, comparison stopped being an outside force. It entered her heart fully. While jealousy does not announce itself loudly, it grows through small resentments. When Adais tried to advise her sister gently about patience in marriage, Obiageli snapped. You think because they paid plenty for you, you know everything? Adais went silent. That was her way. Over time, visits between them reduced. At first, people blamed marriage responsibilities. Later, they understood the truth. Pride had entered where sisterhood once lived. 2 years later, Emeka's business collapsed. Some said he trusted the wrong partners in the city. Others said he had been pretending success all along. Whatever the cause, debts followed him home. Creditors came once, then again. Arguments in Obiageli's compound became public. One evening, Emeka packed a small bag and left, saying he needed to find himself in Lagos. He promised to send for her. Months passed. Nothing came. Obiageli returned to her mother's compound with one small child and no clear explanation. Umuokoro did what it always does. It talked, and as painful as her situation was, what hurt Obiageli most was not abandonment, it was comparison. Now people said openly, the one with higher bride price is enjoying, the one that bargained too much is suffering, as if bride price had been prophecy. It was Adais who surprised everyone. Instead of watching silently, she began visiting her sister daily. She brought food sometimes. She carried Obiageli's child when the younger one felt overwhelmed. At first, Obiageli resisted the help, but suffering has a way of softening pride. One evening, after the children slept, the two sisters sat outside under the same moon they once shared as girls. It was quiet for a long time before Obiageli spoke. Do you think they were right? He asked. About what? Adaizi replied gently. That the money showed our value. Adaizi looked at her sister carefully before answering. No, it only showed what one family could afford without noise. That was the first honest conversation they had in years. Obiageli wept that night, not loudly, but deeply. She confessed the jealousy she had carried. She admitted how the village's comparisons had entered her heart. Adais listened without judgment. In that moment, I realized something. The true damage had not been done by bride price. It had been done by the village's obsession with measuring worth. Years later, Emeka never returned. Obiageli rebuilt her life slowly. She began selling cooked food in the market. It was not glamorous, but it was steady. Adais helped her plan and manage money carefully. The sisters grew close again, not with childish innocence, but with adult understanding. In time, people stopped mentioning bride price differences. They found new topics. Villages always do. But those of us who witnessed it remember clearly. We remember how celebration turned into comparison, how comparison turned into jealousy, and how jealousy nearly broke what widowhood had failed to destroy. If you ask me today what that story taught Umokoro, I will tell you this. Bride price is tradition, marriage is responsibility, but value? Value is revealed in endurance, character,
and the kind of sister who returns even after you pushed her away.
And that is the part people do not gossip about because it is quieter than money, but it lasts longer.